Hello and welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast with your host, metaphysician, Reiki master, and hypnotherapist, Christy Clemens Hoffman. Each week, we will discover teachings, tips, and tools to radiate your best life ever with practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate?
Hello and welcome back to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. Today, we radiate connection with Jennifer Henczel, who is found at womenpodcasters.com and is running a contest for an awards contest for women in podcasting. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's how I knew about you, was the Women in Podcasting Awards, which is so exciting. Oh my God. Yeah. How long have you been promoting women in podcasting?
Yeah, thank you for being a nominee, and I hope everyone votes for your podcast.
I hope so too. Yeah.
We have a week
Wellness
left.
Yeah, the Radiate podcast is up for the award, as well as the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast that I've also been hosting, and then being a guest expert. So yeah, that's exciting. Super fun. Yeah. This is the first year that you've offered this award, isn't it?
Yes, so this is the first year for the awards.
Yes.
The network has been going on since early 2020, end of 2019. So what happened was my business used to be a side gig. When I worked full time and did my business at night, I was working 12, 14, 16 hours a day, really doing the hustle, really working alone and isolated. And I was at work one day and I received this phone call that no one wants to receive. It was my husband's boss. And he said, "You need to come to the hospital right away. Your husband's been in a terrible accident." It turned out he had been crushed at work by 12,000 pounds of wood.
Oh my God.
And that was he survived, thankfully. And his courage was so inspiring to me. And it's been a long recovery. He's left with multiple lifelong injuries, permanent injuries. But
no,
one of the things that really impacted me about that situation was the communities he was involved in before his accident came around and rallied around him. For example, he was a volunteer football coach in the community. And other coaches and players would come around and say, "We're here for you, Coach Paul." And that really touched us. And that really woke me up, because boy, was I ever sleeping and living unconsciously. And that woke me up into my conscious living, because I realized how isolated I had become and disconnected from everything and everyone.
Because of all the work you were putting in.
Yeah. And I was just overworking myself, because that's the myth, right? The one who has the most beautiful website, or the one who has the most beautiful programs, or the one who works and hustles to the point of exhaustion is going to make the most money. It's just not true.
Right.
It takes alignment, right? And it takes connection.
Yeah. Oh.
And so, you know what I did? I was feeling so disconnected. I put it out on socials. "Hey, who wants to join me for lunch? Other business owners. Are there any other business owners who want to join me for lunch?" And to my surprise, 50 business owners showed up. So it wasn't just me, and I wasn't that organized with it at that time. So I wasn't expecting that. And so that one meeting became a group, and that group became a network. And I had a large business network in my region for many, many years. And that all came, sort of from his accident. And then I was able to use that platform to help him go from an injured mill worker to an international speaker. And so he did a TED Talk called "Silencing Stigma Through Storytelling," because storytelling was a huge part of his recovery. Telling his story, me exploring my story and telling my story and creating my story, because stories create opportunities and opportunities create stories, right?
Right.
And he also wrote a book about our story. So all of that really made me realize that for anything to work, you need to be part of a community.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you need to allow yourself to experience that, immerse yourself in the community and experience being supported. And people will help you if you show up to be helped. You have to show up as yourself and be ready to receive. And when you're part of a community, you need to be willing to give, be a giver. Don't just show up and expect, "Oh, I want to make that person my client or that person my customer." It's more about how can you contribute to the community and open your arms to just being part of a community.
Right. Absolutely. So in creating that community, was it to find support, or what was your momentum behind starting that community?
All I knew was that I needed connection. And it really is true. Connection is key to the wellness of our own beings and the wellness of our business.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really turned out that was my missing piece. I was able to turn my part-time gig into my full-time income. That was 12 years ago. And I've never worked for anyone since. I've been a full-time entrepreneur.
Oh my gosh.
Because of that experience.
When you talk about your side gig that you developed into your own business, so was that podcasting then?
No, we weren't podcasting yet. Podcasting came into play because it was a key to helping us through the situation. We would do a lot of learning. We would listen to other stories
Right.
and be on podcasts, be interviewed on podcasts. And so I studied podcasting for 10 years before I finally started our podcast. We didn't start our podcasts until the end of 2019.
Oh my gosh. So what is your podcast?
So I have two podcasts, Inspiring Innovators Show
Mm-hmm. Inspired
and the
Educators.
Women in Podcasting Show.
Oh, that is fantastic. Yeah. So you've been doing this for about 10 years, the podcasting.
Well, I studied podcasting for about 10 years, since about 2009. And then before I finally started my own podcast. So I had done some editing and some sort of work and a lot of connecting in the podcasting industry. But I didn't actually start my own podcast until just a few years ago.
Right, right. Yeah, it takes quite a bit of courage to start something like that. Of course, I know that very well firsthand, that it takes a while to gather up that courage and gather up that just kind of background to put together something like that. Right.
Yeah, when I first started studying it, the tech was just way over my head. And it's
Yeah.
easier now more than ever. Now is the time. There's still lots of room and lots of growth potential in podcasting. And so if someone out there has a message, and I found that it's the best way to elevate my voice, and my mission now with Women in Podcasting, the Women in Podcasting group and Women Podcasters Network, is to elevate women's voices globally and in the podcasting industry. And so we're doing that. And the awards is a big part of that as well, to help people to rally their listeners, to build community around their message, to just another platform to elevate women's voices.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Why did you start the Women in Podcasting Award?
Well, initially the group was because I just wanted to connect with other women podcasters. So I created the Facebook group. That was the first piece.
Yeah.
And then I just found a lot of the women needed help with monetizing, because that's my strong area. I was monetizing even before podcasting. And so I was able to help people and give tools and templates and trainings about monetizing. And then I started the membership, and within 10 days, I had my first 100 members.
Oh my
Within
goodness.
10 days of launching that.
Right.
And so I've had the membership, and then the membership turned into the awards. So this year is the first year that we're offering the awards, and we have almost 400 nominees, and we have almost 14,000 votes so far.
That's incredible. Wow. And how did you get the word out about the awards and voting?
Well, I am so thrilled that the whole effort was really, really supported by the podcasting industry.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of really key podcasting players come along and help us get the word out about it. And as the podcasters joined, they invited other podcasters, and it's just grown into a beautiful thing. So we're going to have it again next year. We're going to have it earlier next year in the spring.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have the voting open for quite a while. Voting, how long is the voting going on?
Yes. So the voting, actually, we have one more week left for the voting.
Oh, yeah.
So it ends on October 1st, because September 30th is International Podcasting Day. And so we thought that would be a great last day to help all the podcasters get votes. So ours is to get votes. Ours is a people's choice style of awards. So it's not a judged style of awards, but people get their listeners and communities to vote for them.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the person with the most votes in each category will win that category.
Right. I've been really excited about this award since I first found out about it. And I was really happy to be able to get in on it. And of course, spread the word about voting for the Radiate Wellness Podcast, Real Life Angel Encounters, and about me as a guest expert, right? How many categories are in this award?
I think we have 38 altogether, I believe.
Categories. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
that's
lot of categories.
amazing.
And so one of the other things that I really wanted to do was make it low barrier, because a lot of awards are really, really expensive to join.
Yeah.
And they also, quite a few of the awards have a large application process. And so we tried to make it as simple as possible to apply and the lowest cost in the market for any kind of awards.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say it was very easy to enter, and it was easy to just get involved in it from the start. So that was much appreciated. And I know that next year it's going to be even bigger, isn't it?
Yes. We have lots of people that are already coming along saying they want to be sponsors next year and nominees next year. And so it'll probably be even bigger. And so every new person that joins, collectively, everything I do, community and connection, are at the core. And so that's what I wanted to make it. And so I've seen so many wonderful collaborations come out of the awards already amongst the podcasters.
Yeah.
And, it encourages everybody to learn about each other and to bring their audiences along and to get them to rally around their podcast and vote for them. So it's really it's an extra tool to engage your audience and let them know what you're all about and get them involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I let everybody that I know, all my clients, everybody on social media just know about voting and getting involved in that. Now, how long ago did you start womenpodcasters.com? I don't want to take too much of your time, but I would like to ask you a few simple favors. First of all, please rate, review, and share this podcast wherever you're listening. It sounds like a simple little thing, and it is, but it has a huge impact for us because it helps other people find us in the podcasting algorithms. I don't know how it works, but I do know that it helps a lot. Next, if you would subscribe or follow wherever you're listening, whether that's YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, wherever you're listening, just hit subscribe or follow, and that helps you and it helps us. It helps you because then you receive notifications when we have a new episode that's out. It helps us because, again, algorithm magic, I don't know what happens, but it helps. And then finally, you can support our podcast in a tangible way by going to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcast and then click on support the show. Now, we have a new feature too. We are now on Patreon. You can find us on Patreon. You can also find the link to Patreon when you go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcast. So on Patreon for $3 a month or $5 a month, you can support your metaphysical and spiritual growth. You can learn about upcoming guests and you can get early and ad-free versions of the shows. So please support us. This podcast is free for you to listen, but we have costs, and quite frankly, they come out of my pocket. So if you like this content, if you get a lot out of it, please see what you can do to give back. Thank you so much.
So that started in 2020.
Okay.
We started that membership about 6 months after the group started.
Yeah. So for women who are podcasters, can you tell a bit about how to get involved and what the membership is about?
Yeah, sure. So the membership is all about helping people. As I said, our mission is to elevate women's voices globally and in the podcasting industry. And so we offer resources, tools, templates, and trainings about starting, growing, and monetizing a podcast. And so we have all kinds of templates and things to help people get started and to grow their podcast and to start generating income from their podcast.
Right.
And so you can find out about that at womenpodcasters.com.
That is fantastic. I'm looking at the website now. So there's, yes, information on how to join, about members and memberships, gifts. Tell me about gifts that's on your website.
Yeah, so we offer a number of free opt-ins that people can join.
Yeah.
Just go and collect for free and take a look. For example, we have one that helps people learn how to get more gigs or spots as a guest expert on podcasts. So we also help guest experts in addition to podcasters. And then we have a complimentary masterclass about starting a podcast.
Yeah.
And so we have all kinds of complimentary things that people can dive into and learn about podcasting or just get started.
Yeah. Now, how did you learn about podcasting? What did you use for resources and getting started yourself?
So my podcast coach and the person who I learned from, his name is Dave Jackson. He's well known in the podcasting industry. He's a podcast coach. He has something called School of Podcasting, and I highly recommend him. We have the one masterclass for starting a podcast, but I highly recommend him if you want some really in-depth tutorials about every single step. He's the go-to guy. Lots of people in the industry know about him, and I studied from him. Like I said, for 10 years, it's not his fault that I didn't start a podcast right away. It was, everything going on with us in our lives. And we had planned it for quite a long time before we started it. And also, like I said, the tech used to be really hard. And now it's super easy for anyone to start a podcast.
Oh, super easy to start a podcast, right? And tell me again, this podcast coach that you had?
David Jackson, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Right. And so for you, why a podcast? There are so many ways to interact with people. You can write a book, you can maybe, I don't know, different ways to connect with people. Why podcasting?
Well, I love doing multiple streams of things. So I do all the things. We have published books, we have the websites, we have memberships and all these different things. Podcasting is a perfect thing for a community and to build a community around your message because it brings everybody together, and it can be really current.
Yeah.
And you can express your message and what's going on and updates and things like that in a very current way. And at the beginning of the situation we had in 2020 that took place. So when that took place, before that, there was only 1 million podcasts.
Yeah.
And then during that time, now we're up to 4 million. So in a very small window of time, went up to 4 million podcasts. But still, even so, and a lot of those aren't even active, right? So only a portion of those are active.
Right.
And so if you can compare that to the number of websites out there, which are billions, there's still tremendous, tremendous growth in the podcasting industry. And so it's a brand new, even though it's been going on since about 2003, 2005, like in that area, it still has so much growth potential. And there's still so many opportunities to connect with people. So for example, a lot of the guests I've had, I wouldn't have even been able to meet unless I had them as a guest, right? And so the connection, again, is all about connection because the connections I've made through podcasting are amazing. And the podcasting community itself is such a beautiful community. It's just so many wonderful people.
So supportive, so supportive.
Yes.
I'm a podcast junkie myself. I really am. I love all kinds of podcasts. There's several that I follow that I subscribe to. So, it's a wonderful way to build community and to just find out all kinds of information. So many guests and so many authors and just so much information out there on podcasts. And I know so many people who are into podcasts themselves and listen to them all the time. It's a great way to get involved in things and just spread your knowledge and be informed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about the 2 podcasts that you have.
Yeah. So the Women in Podcasting show, we feature women podcasters from all levels, from beginners to really seasoned podcasters. And we have podcasting information and the how-tos, but we also just feature those other podcasts. So I normally, about every quarter or so, have a gathering of podcasters from the membership. And then we put them all on the show and feature them and put episodes of like that out. Again, all about connection. So everybody connects with each other and you can listen to those episodes and hear about a whole bunch of new amazing podcasts.
Yeah.
And then the Inspiring Innovators show, that came out of directly, that was the first one we did. And that's with my husband. And that was born out of his near-death experience.
Yeah. How's he doing now?
Yeah, he's good now. And we do the podcast together. And he's spoken on some amazing stages telling his story of recovery and surviving to thriving.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure I know the answer to this, but where do people find your podcast?
You could find both podcasts if you go to inspiringshow.com. That's the Inspiring Innovator Show. And then if you go to womenpodcasters.com, you can find the Women in Podcasting Show.
Wow. You've been doing these for quite some time. How many episodes do you have out of each of these podcasts?
Oh boy. Maybe about in the 30s for the Inspiring Innovator Show.
Wow.
And then around 50 for the Women Podcasting Show.
Yeah. So you're still relatively new to these podcasts, aren't you?
Well, I do podcasting a little different than some people. I don't have a regular schedule. I put things out more in series. So for example, we did a series on Descript, for example, and we put them out 5 days in a row, a whole bunch of series of different trainings. So I do it more in series and I do those gatherings, like I was saying, the special events. And so it's not on a specific day every week. It's more when we have bundles of different series that we put out.
Right. That is very different, isn't it? Yeah. Right. So most of the podcasts that I listen to are weekly, or sometimes there's 2 per week. The Radiate Wellness podcast, we're out every week. Every Tuesday, we drop new episodes. And the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast, that dropped every week as well. So yeah, there's all kinds of different ways to do that, right?
We started as a weekly show, but it just didn't work for our lifestyle and the way that I use the podcasts in my business. And so it works for us. The way I do it really, really works for us. But the nice thing is when I started learning about podcasting, you had to do at least once a week at the very specific time. and a very specific length. So it used to be 45 minutes was standard. You had to do that. There was just, that was the way. But now people have all kinds of different podcasts that release at all different intervals and frequencies and different lengths of shows. And that's what I'm excited to see. All these podcasting is being used for all kinds of communication processes and formats now. So it's exciting because it's a medium that's really transforming into something that really everyone can get involved with. And I really think that every community is going to have a podcast in the center of it, and every podcast can build a community around it. And so it's really all about community and connection for me.
And connection, absolutely. You know, what I love about podcasting is that, and I've looked at maybe doing radio shows before, but those, you're kind of married to the schedule and you're married to the length, right?
Yeah.
So with the podcasting, I love it because I can record anytime. And anybody's schedule that I'm interviewing can interview, you can interview people from all over the world in different time zones. And then each interview is as long as it lasts, from 30 minutes to 60 minutes or more. And I just love that flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I like how it's become more flexible.
Right.
And some people have little 5-minute inspirational bits. Some people have 2 or 3 hour podcasts. It just depends what your community wants, what they need, and how you want to use it to connect with your audience and your community.
Right. I've had folks who help me with this podcast that do editing or put these episodes out on their platforms. And I've had people try to tell me that, well, you need to limit it like 30 minutes or so. That's how long people's attention span lasts. And I just said, no, that's not accurate. Because I listen to podcasts that are maybe 2 hours long, and I don't think they're too long at all. I think it depends on what the guest is talking about, what the subject matter is. I think that can be various lengths, right?
Yeah, totally. And, my background is as an educator. So I have something called my Provincial Instructor's Diploma, which is just in the region that I'm in, is for teaching adults. So I can create curriculum and things like that. And I used to hold a lot of public workshops. And I would hold the same workshop. There was one workshop I did for 5 years straight, every month, at the same time, every month in and month out. And sometimes I'd have huge audiences at it, and sometimes I'd just have a few people at it. But I kind of use my podcast like that. So when I have topics that I want to teach about, and so for me, if only 50 people are watching, or whether 500 or 5,000 people catch that episode, it's kind of similar. I use it in a similar way as I used my workshops and promoting my workshops. So for me, that's how it fits in. But everybody thinks of it differently. And everybody thinks of it as, there's some people who are striving for those 1 million downloads per episode and things like that. That just wouldn't be for me. You know what I mean? So everybody's different.
Everybody's different. And it amazes me, some of the podcasts that do get thousands, if not millions of downloads. The Radiate Wellness podcast has never been that popular, but still people tell me all the time that they listen to it. And the Real Life Angel Encounters, I have lots of listeners from that. Even though I have not put out a new episode in a year, I'm still getting new listeners all the time and new downloads and people joining the Facebook group because it's out there and podcasts are easy to find anymore. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
So everybody, the nice thing is, however it works for you and your lifestyle, like I said, I started out trying to do it every week and it just didn't work for us. That's okay. That's the thing too. It's okay. You can change it up and use it however it works for you and fit it into your lifestyle. So that's really neat. I really love it. It definitely connects me with people, and it definitely brings people into my orbit. And I listen to lots of podcasts, like you said, some that are 5 minutes, some that are 2 hours. And so there's everything in between.
Right. And now for your podcast, do you edit yourself?
Yes.
You do all
I do
the
the editing and
editing.
production.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I know that's one area that I don't do that. I mean, I could, but it's just way more work than I have time available. So I have somebody help me with that. And then what platform are you on? For example, the Radiate Wellness podcast, I'm on the mindbodyspirit.fm network of podcasters. Are you on any of those platforms?
Well, I use a podcast host, and so I was on Libsyn for many years, but I just moved everything to Captivate.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. I've not even heard of that. Yeah, I was on Libsyn for quite a while as well. And now I'm with the mindbodyspirit.fm network, which is wonderful at helping promote things and just a great platform to have many different types of podcasts like mine on there. It's a great way to kind of network and connect with other podcasters. Now, if somebody has been thinking about starting a podcast, Where would you recommend starting?
So definitely watch something like our masterclass that we have
Mm,
for about starting a podcast. And I cover every sort of aspect, everything from equipment to the type of software you'd use. So you had mentioned, what do I use? I use Adobe Premiere Pro, which is one of the top video editing type
mhm.
programs, because mine is video and audio, our podcast.
Ah, yes. So is this.
Yeah.
And yeah, video and audio. Right.
Mhm.
My editor uses Descript, which I think is a
Yeah.
great program as well. You mentioned Descript and using that. Like you said, so many tools out there that are available now that
Yeah.
used to be even 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's
I use Descript for transcripts and a few other things.
mhm,
It's great for lots of different things. Yeah.
lots of different wonderful things. Yeah. And then
Mhm.
there are people who can edit your podcast for you,
Yep.
market it for you, help you with that. So there's a lot of help out there. Right.
Mhm.
And so joining your membership program, like what are the benefits of joining your membership program?
Well, it's a real time saver because we have time saving templates
Mm,
specifically for podcasters, which I haven't seen anything else quite like that on the market. So I'll have things like a media kit for your podcast, which if you just sat down and didn't know much what to do, it could take hours or days or weeks to create that, right? But I have the template, every single page you need, all of the template writing and things like that, what you should put in it.
mhm.
And so if someone is looking for sponsors for their show, for example, I don't use sponsorship. I monetize in other ways, but you need a media kit. You need to have a media kit if you're looking for sponsors or even for guests. If you have high profile guests, they like to see a media kit, what your podcast is all about. So that's just one example. I have dozens and dozens and dozens of templates that podcasters can use. I have show notes guide, how to set up your show notes. Show notes are a really important part of promoting your podcast because
Yeah.
it can help you with SEO, everything from SEO to featuring your guests to putting affiliate links on there. So if one of my guests has a book, I'll put an Amazon affiliate link, for example, or if they have a program that they're promoting and they have an affiliate program, I'll put their
Yeah.
affiliate link in there. You can put all kinds of things in your show notes to help promote your show and to
Yeah.
get
The
more
show
SEO
notes
to
are
your website.
very, yeah, the show notes are very, very valuable.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really love that. The bios and links and everything that you can put in there. And then also, of course, with Radiate Wellness, I like to promote our business with Radiate Wellness and our practitioners. So that's also helpful as well.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest way to promote podcasts?
The number one way to promote podcasts or really any kind of online business or any business is email marketing. It still
Mm,
outperforms every other type of
mhm.
promotion available. So, yes, there are other types of promotion. Of course, I have a strong social media presence. I do PR. But if you want to have a podcast, for example, that has millions of subscribers, you need to have a massive PR and ads budget, right? But if you don't have that huge PR ads budget, then really you need to be doing social media and email marketing. Email marketing, like I said, outperforms any of those, any
Mm,
of those. So even if you're doing those other things, you still need to have email marketing because it helps you to stay connected with your audience and build meaningful relationships with them directly. Because even if social media or PR goes away,
yeah.
those people, you own your list, you own your email marketing list. And so I invite people onto my list through gifts. So I offer lead magnets, and lead magnets are the gifts that I offer, and people will join the list to get the lead magnet and to join my updates and get news from our network and from just what Paul and I are up to and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Absolutely. That is wonderful. Again, your two shows are what are your shows?
Women in Podcasting Show.
Yep.
And you can find that at womenpodcasters.com and Inspiring Innovators Show. And you can find that at inspiringshow.com.
That is fantastic. And the Women in Podcasting Award. So I know voting goes up to October 1st, and
Yes.
I'm afraid this episode is going to be out after that.
Oh.
Yeah, that's too bad, but that's okay because we can check out who the winners are and when will the winners be announced?
The winners will be announced October 22nd.
Okay. Oh,
Yes. But there will be the next awards will start in February. So if
yeah.
anyone's interested in that, you can go to womeninpodcasting.net. That's the website for the Women in Podcasting Awards. womeninpodcasting.net. You can sign up to be a nominee. We're also looking for sponsors. Sponsorship is a great visibility to all the podcasters who join, and in our email list and socials and things like that, we promote the sponsors. And so there's lots of opportunities for everyone to get involved in that.
And when are nominations open for the next awards?
The next ones, we're aiming for February 1st.
February 1st. And then the voting will continue for how long?
And so nominations will go from February 1st to the end of April.
Mm-hmm.
And then voting will go through the month of May.
Okay. That is a very lengthy time. I noticed that for this round of awards, also, I think the voting started in early or sometime in August and then was going toward the 1st of October. Why such a long period, out of curiosity?
Because it was our first year, and a lot of the podcasters needed help. So I also provided a huge package of assets that the podcasters can use to help promote. So I gave some trainings and all kinds of things to help them with rallying their audiences and connecting with their audiences and building that community around their message. And so this year, just people needed a bit more time to get used to those kinds of things. That's a lot of those things are new to a lot of people, a lot of podcasters. And so I know you have a lot of savvy business experience, but a lot of podcasters don't. Right? And they need help in that area. And so I provided a lot of that training and those tools and things like that. And so we just needed a bit more time this year. But from now on, the voting period will just be a month.
Yeah, that's good. That sounds really good. Sounds really good. So I'm excited to find out October 22nd who the winners are. This would be wonderful. Fingers crossed that, I will get an award. But yeah, the materials that you provide for podcasters is very valuable as well. I can encourage any woman in podcasting to be a member and join because you get so many tools and resources.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's my joy to provide that stuff at a lower cost than in some of my other communities. I have similar tools, but I provide it to women in podcasting specifically at the lowest price. It's only $5 a month to join our community there.
Fantastic.
And
yes. Right. So is there anything else that we have not covered that you think is important to mention?
I hope people vote for your show. I know this might be coming out after this voting period, but if you're in our next round, I hope people vote for you and your show. You're doing amazing work. I love everything you're doing and I love your vibe. I was cruising your website and I was like, oh, okay, we're going to be friends because I felt aligned with everything you had going on there. So if people haven't visited your website yet, I hope they take a look and check out everything you're offering.
I do appreciate that. Yeah, I think that everybody's waking up to the stuff that we offer. So it's time for us to up level like that. So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, Jen, it was really great to talk with you today. I know we've tried to arrange this for some time and we finally made it happen. So I can't wait to see what happens in the next round of the awards and everything, and encourage anybody who's interested in podcasting to visit womeninpodcasting.net. Oh, you know what? One more question. Is it just women in podcasting that you support, or do you support men in podcasting or non-binary people in podcasting?
Oh, for sure. Women often has a plus beside it because it's women and non-binary people for women in podcasting and women podcasters network. And so, yeah, definitely. And we do have an LGBTQ category.
Sure.
We've had some wonderful shows come on. And then I do have other groups that are for all genders. I have a group called Podcast Experts, where you can find all kinds of podcasting services in there and providers. That's a wonderful group. And then I have the Canadian Podcasters Club.
Oh, right. Yeah, because you are based in Canada.
Yes.
Yes, that is wonderful. Well, thank you again, Jen. Thanks for joining me today. And thanks for everything you do to support podcasting and podcasters. Very, very valuable stuff.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Don't know what to watch next? Decisions. Well, we've got some suggestions. You can click this little video here and watch that. It's something that we think you're going to like. If you like the last one, you're going to like that one too. You can also click on the subscribe button. And if you do that, then you'll get notifications whenever we have a new video up. Win-win, right?